Welcome to your yoga mat. Today we're doing our detox Vinyasa flow, which basically means we're going to do a lot of flowing and some twisting and really moving the body, creating some warmth, helping to spread some energy throughout the body and just overall feeling amazing. So I invite you to find a comfortable standing position. So we're going to stand in mountain pose, and you might even gently just step from side to side, feeling how your weight shifts and noticing, maybe if you come over to this side, you feel a little out of balance, and then over to this side, you're a little out of balance. And then finding that neutral ground where we feel equal weight between both sides of the body. And for a lot of us, we might have a tendency to, maybe stand into one hip or the other, maybe holding a child or groceries, things like that. So we want to try and find a more neutral position where we're balanced side to side. And that just means equal weight on each foot, each leg. And we can gently go back and forth. So maybe forward onto the toes, back towards the heels, lifting the toes, and being really mindful as we do this. We're not trying to fall over. We're just trying to find, as we go from one extreme to another, that place where we feel settled and we feel balanced, side to side and back to front. So once we get there, we can soften the knees and maybe even shake them out a little bit. Let the shoulders draw back and down. Palms are facing forward with fingertips down to the ground, and just really noticing. So if we feel like our shoulders are up around our ears, relaxing them, you can give them a little shrug. And if it feels good, allowing our eyes to close. If not, you can let your gaze just soften towards the tip of your nose. So finding a sense of ease in this powerful pose. So it can be a tendency to maybe even look up towards the ceiling, or we lock out our knees. So letting go of those needs to, fill what we think is an image of that good posture. And we, if we want to check in, we could think ears over shoulders, over hips, over knees and ankles. And you might notice if you have your eyes closed, maybe you have a tendency to even lean forward or back here in this pose. So again, finding that place where we're at ease and in balance, side to side, back and front. Noticing your connection to the earth, feeling the feet rooted into the ground below, the four corners of each foot. So the big toe, baby toe, and then each side of the heel. And you can even imagine roots coming out the bottoms of your feet, traveling into the center of the earth, traveling far, far down. And from those roots, you can draw energy and nourishment from the planet into your body. Perhaps visualizing that as a light or a color as it enters the bottoms of your feet and then travels through the legs, up into your hips, your torso, all the way to the crown of the head, and traveling wherever you need it the most. So if there's a part of your body that's feeling achy or tight, directing that energy exactly wherever you need it. Setting an intention for your practice today. So whatever it is you'd most like to cultivate in our time together, whether it's a sense of ease, maybe some strength or balance, or just that opportunity to take care of yourself. Whenever you're ready, we'll allow the eyes to blink gently open, arriving back into this space together. And we're going to start moving with the breath. So if you want to shift around on your feet, you could do that as well. You might even make your feet or your stance a little bit wider apart. We're going to inhale. Arms can either come out to the sides, or if it feels okay, to the shoulders, all the way up overhead. Exhaling, hands can come to heart center, or you could sweep them back in that arc as well. We're inhaling and then exhaling. So you might move through that circular motion, or you can find any other variation with your arms that feels good to you. And you might even cycle through a few of them to see what feels good. Maybe inhaling, expanding into the front of the chest and the shoulders, and exhaling, hands can come to heart center, or maybe even giving yourself a little bit of a hug. Inhaling, expanding, exhaling, bringing arms in. So you can stay here with this flowing breath if you'd like, and any version with the arms, or we can turn this into a little bit more of a flowing movement. We call this flight of the bird, and we'll start a little small with this, and you can maybe get a little more dynamic or take up more space if that feels good to you. So we're going to start first by inhaling and stepping a foot back. So this can be a small step, maybe just a tap, and then we'll exhale, arms come to the shoulders, giving yourself a little bit of a hug, and then inhaling again, opening, exhaling, bringing everything back in. So we can make this as big or as small as feels good. And again, if it feels a little unsteady to you to, step back like that with a bigger step, you might just step right here. Or you could even step forward. So it's your yoga practice, finding what feels good to you. But if you want to, we could make this a little bit bigger, giving ourselves the permission to take up space, to travel, to be. So maybe making your bird or your flight of your bird take up your whole living room or the space that you're in. And allowing ourselves to not feel limited by our yoga mat. So you might step off your yoga mat, maybe traveling in all directions. I'm going to stay pretty much here so you can see me. But knowing that you don't just have to travel in a limited area. And if this feels like a little much, if your arms are getting tired or your shoulders, you could always bring it in or maybe come back to that flowing breath. So there's no right or wrong. It's all about what feels good to your body, what feels good in this moment. So maybe one or two more till we feel balanced. Maybe if you've gotten a little momentum, maybe you need to do an extra one to slow things down. All right, so now from there, we're going to start to add in a little bit of lateral flexion for the spine. And that basically means moving from side to side. So we're going to inhale that right arm up. Left hand could stay on the thigh or maybe reaching down towards the knee. And then if you'd like, you could look up to the top hand or down to the left foot. We'll exhale that arm down. We'll inhale, bringing the left arm up, right hand at any part along the leg. And again, turning your neck in whichever direction feels better. We'll exhale, bringing that arm down. And now we might make this a little bit more rhythmic, a little bit more flowing, finding a rhythm that matches your breath. So whatever feels best in your body, finding the flow that feels best to you. So you might be flowing like I am, where the arms are pretty much moving independently or separately, or we might make it a little more complementary, whereas one arm, where the arms meet in center, and then the other arm goes up. Maybe experimenting, seeing which one of those feels the best to you at this moment. We could even let them float through center there. Maybe bringing a little bit more grace into the movement. So you can kind of approach your yoga practice as an experiment. So if I were to do this, what would it feel like? And then just noticing, being the observer of your body moving on the mat. And again, it's not just the movements, it's most importantly about the breath. So breathing. And as we move throughout the practice, if we start to notice we're holding our breath or we're feeling a little labored in the breath, and maybe we're trying a little too much, and we can back off a little bit. So I'm really enjoying this one, but we're going to do just maybe one or two more after this one. Again, feeling balance between the two sides of the body. And then we'll inhale the shoulders up, exhale, pressing them back and down. Inhaling up, exhaling back and down. So we'll do two more like that, or as many as you'd like. So it's almost like giving yourself a mini massage right there. So now we're going to add in a little bit of twisting side to side. So really powerful for our digestion, but also helpful for the spine as well as we move into a different plane. So we're going to inhale, bringing the arms up. We'll exhale, twisting to the left side. Arms could be long, or you could place hands on your shoulders. Inhaling up, exhaling to the other side. So for this twist, same thing. Arms are optional, so you might explore a variation, maybe having hands on the shoulders, or you could cross them in front of you. And noticing how those simple changes might change the experience. And no matter which version we're choosing, twisting very easily. We're not trying to force or strain. Breathing easily, and you're losing track of where to breathe in and breathe out. The most important thing is to just let the breath be flowing. All right, we'll do one more time to each direction. And then coming back to face the front. I'm going to take a step to the top of my yoga mat. You might already be there. So coming towards the short end of your yoga mat. And we're going to inhale, circle sweeping the arms up, letting our gaze come up if it feels okay to the neck. Otherwise, we can just keep our gaze forward. And then exhaling, arms go wide as we hinge into a forward fold. Letting the head and neck hang, we can shake out our head and neck. Shaking our head no, saying no to limiting thoughts. And then nodding our heads, yes. Yes, I am enough just as I am. And then maybe a gentle sway side to side like a rag doll, or if you prefer, staying still. And then we'll all come into stillness. We're going to inhale, lifting halfway, coming into monkey pose. Hands could be on our shins, or you can have them resting on blocks at any height. Our main goal here is that we want to think about lengthening through the spine, lengthening the heart forward. It's almost as if you're a superhero flying through the sky. And then as we exhale, we're going to bend the knees a little bit more, letting the belly rest on the legs. And then we're going to inhale into that lifted posture, that monkey pose, shoulders drawing away from the ears. Exhaling, rounding forward fold. This time we're going to inhale, sweeping all the way back up, reverse swan dive, and exhaling, hands come to the heart. So we're going to move through a couple versions of our sun salutation, a couple variations. Inhaling, we'll look up, drawing the low belly in. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, we'll rise halfway. Exhaling, forward fold. We're going to step back with the left foot, dropping the knee down to the ground, coming into a low lunge. The right knee is over the ankle, and we can keep our hands rooted on the ground, or we can walk up to that front thigh, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the jaw. Exhaling, hands come to frame that front foot, and we'll step this foot back And we'll come into child's pose, extending the arms forward, foreheads resting on the ground. Either staying here in our child's pose if this feels good, or we can add in our half series vinyasa, inhaling forward, either to plank or to tabletop, and staying where we are, or we can exhale, lowering all the way down to the ground. Inhaling, lifting through just the chest and the upper body. Elbows are reaching back and hugging in, coming into baby cobra pose. And then exhale, forehead comes down to the ground, hands plant next to the shoulders, and we're going to use the strength of our upper body to inhale, coming back into that kneeling plank, using our upper body strength, and then exhaling, child's pose. This time we're going to step that left foot forward, finding our low lunge on the other side now. So again, finding that good alignment with the knee and the ankle, perhaps walking the hands up to that front thigh, or we could stay with our hands on the ground, setting our gaze or our drishti, and then bringing hands to frame that front foot. We'll tuck the rear toes under, coming into runner's lunge, and then big step or as many steps as we need to find ourselves back in that forward fold position. We'll inhale, lifting halfway, exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling to rise, exhaling, chair pose. Inhaling as we lift into extended mountain pose, exhaling, sweeping forward fold. We'll inhale, monkey pose, that halfway lift. And knees have at least a little bit of a bend here, but if you need to bend them more, that's fine. We want to protect those hamstrings. And then exhale, we'll deepen that bend, letting the belly rest on the legs. This time we're going to step the right foot back, lowering the knee down to the ground. Low lunge once again. Relaxing the shoulders, softening the gaze. Planting our hands in front of that, or around that front foot. And we'll step back into child's pose. And again, your choice, staying here in child's pose. Or if you'd like, after this next breath, we have the option of adding in that half series flow. And you can add or subtract movements to that flow if you'd like to add it. So perhaps coming forward, inhaling the plank, exhale, maybe lowering halfway, and then pushing back up. Or you could add in that baby cobra pose, that little back bend, rather than holding ourselves there. And I'm going to add in one more, just like what I did, but remember, you get to choose. So perhaps if you're adding in that cobra pose, you would just do one, and then we can hold here for a moment in child's pose, meeting together here. And then on our next in-breath, we're going to step the right foot forward, low lunge, exhaling, releasing any heat from the body. We'll bring the hands down to frame that front foot. We'll tuck the rear toes under, and then big step into that forward fold. Inhaling halfway, exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling to rise, exhaling, chair pose. So what we just did was our modified sun salutation. And if you'd like, you can repeat those, or you can add on some of the variations that I'm about to show you. So you get to pick and choose as we go. Inhaling, lifting, exhaling, sweeping into that forward fold. As we inhale, we rise halfway, lengthening the spine, keeping our gaze down towards the floor. Exhaling, forward fold. This time on our next inhale, we'll step the left foot back, and my yoga mat's a little slippery, so I almost slipped right there. So being very cautious as we practice. Now, if you'd like, you could stay right here with hands on the ground. You might choose to add yoga blocks to bring the floor a little bit closer, or we could lift into our crescent lunge. So sometimes this can be a challenge for our balance. We might want to have something nearby, or again, keeping our hands on the ground. And then only if it feels available, we could lift the arms into that crescent lunge. Exhaling, bringing hands back down if they were lifted. And this time we can step that front foot back to come into either downward facing dog, or perhaps we could revisit child's pose. Your choice here. We'll take 2 breaths, inhaling and exhaling. One more. Now in this downward facing dog or child's pose, again, we have that option to be still, or if you'd like, we could add in any version of the vinyasa. I'm going to inhale forward to plank, knowing that we could drop those knees if we'd like. And then I'm going to exhale back to downward facing dog. I'm going to do that one more time. And then from here, we're going to step that left foot forward between the hands. And we can give it a little bit of help if it needs it. Remember, we can drop that back knee to the floor if that helps us to feel more stable and supported. Or we have that option of coming to the crescent lunge on this side as well. Whoa. So sometimes when we move our arms or we move a part of our body, that can take us out of balance a little bit. Bringing hands back down, either to our blocks or to the floor. And then we can, again, step that rear foot forward. Now, if the back knee is on the ground, we'll lift the back knee, tucking the toes under. And then taking as many steps as we need to walk that rear foot in. Inhaling halfway, monkey pose. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling as we sweep up. As we exhale, chair pose. Inhaling and then exhaling, forward fold. We're going to do the other side next. So first we'll do that halfway lift, monkey pose. Exhaling, forward fold. This time we'll step the right foot back. Again, dropping that knee if that's appropriate. Or we can find any version of the lunge on this side. And one option is to add in a twist. So we might bring hands to heart center and then exhaling, twisting to that left side. We could stay lifted or dropping that right hand either to a block or to the floor. And then maybe opening those wings. Turning towards that front leg. And then exhaling, coming back to face the front leg. We'll step back. Your choice, downward facing dog or child's pose. And again, any option for your vinyasa. This one I'm going to add in a 3-legged dog. So lifting the left leg, setting it down, lifting the right leg, and setting it down. I'm going to do one more time to each side. And again, you might be moving through any of our other options for the vinyasa. And then getting ready to step that right foot forward to the hands, giving it a little help if you need it. Keeping the hands rooted on the floor, your blocks, or finding a more lifted posture if that's appropriate. And if we added that twist in on the other side, we can add it in here. So twisting towards that front leg and either staying upright. We can take that left hand and if you'd like, grabbing a block to bring the floor a little bit closer to us. That can give us a little more space in the spine if we need it. So always choosing the variations that feel best, that fit our bodies best. We'll come to face that front foot and then stepping forward, taking as many steps as we need to find ourselves in forward fold. Inhaling halfway, monkey pose. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling as we rise. Exhaling, sitting into chair pose. Inhaling and exhaling. So we're going to take a step towards the long edge of our mat now. And we're going to take a nice wide stance, rolling those shoulders out. And actually, for a moment, maybe bringing your feet back into mountain pose. You can keep your legs wide if that felt better. But we're going to take a moment to check in, noticing what's happening in the body. Keeping the knees soft, crown of the head towards the sky. Hands can be next to the body, or we could place one or both hands on the heart center. Maybe noticing your heart beating, the breath. Maybe you feel a little warmer than when we started the practice. Noticing anything else that's coming up for you. And knowing that there's no right or wrong answer. And when you're ready, blinking the eyes open, coming back into this space. We'll take our feet wide. So nice wide stance. We'll bring our hands back to those smiles we have on the back of our body. We're going to inhale, broadening across the chest and the front of the shoulders. And then as we exhale, hinging. So nice long spine, knees are soft, and we'll just let our hands trace down the sides of the legs, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. Keeping the knees bent as much as you'd like. We're going to walk both hands over to the left leg, holding on either around the ankle, the calf, or higher up on the leg, wherever feels most available. Or you could even have a yoga block here if you'd like. Noticing what's happening, where we're feeling sensation. Letting the breath be easy. On our next in-breath, we're going to just travel across the floor with our hands, coming over to the right leg. And again, holding on wherever feels most available. And it might be different on each side of the body. Noticing how both legs are experiencing this version of the pose. You might be feeling the back of the leg that you're turning towards, and maybe you're feeling something on the inner thigh or another part of the leg that you're turning away from. And then coming back to a more neutral position. We're going to turn this into kind of a Spider-Man version of what we just did. So now we're going to walk our fingertips towards the front of this leg, the front of this foot, the left foot. Now, if you needed, or if you wanted, you could take a block and maybe come up a little bit higher. So if it feels like the floor is too far away, maybe adding in that block, or you could maybe be near a coffee table or an end table. So noticing sensations in this leg that we're turning towards, and then perhaps bending that right knee. So the knee that we're turning away from. So noticing where you're feeling sensation now. It might be in that long leg, or maybe into the torso, the ribs. And if this feels too much having that opposite leg bent, you can straighten it back up again. We're only here for another breath or two. And then we'll straighten that leg. And now we're going to crawl our hands back over to that right side. So if you used your block on the left side, you could bring it over to this right side. And again, if it's available, crawling the hands on the side of that right foot, or you can hold on up on the block at any height, maybe the thigh. You get to choose. You know what it feels like to your body. And then only if you want that other sensation than maybe bending that left knee, and bending it as deeply as feels good. So noticing where you're feeling it on this side. Might feel the same or a little different. And we'll come back to center, letting the head hang down towards the floor. You can either hold on to the ankles or place hands between the feet with the crown of the head down towards the ground, keeping your knees bent as much as you'd like. And then to come out of this, we're going to come up very slowly since we've been upside down for a little while. We're going to soften the knees a little bit more. On our in-breath, we'll bring our hands just above the knees and we'll exhale to stay. So we still have our gaze down towards the floor. Head and neck are just hanging easily here. On the next in-breath, we'll come up a little bit more, but now our upper body is pretty much parallel to the floor. And we'll just exhale to stay here. On the next in-breath, we'll walk our hands up a little higher, torso up a tiny bit higher, but we're still looking down at the ground. We're going to exhale to stay. And then either using one or two more breaths as we inhale either part of the way or all the way up to stand. And then heel toeing our feet in, or we can hop, skip, or jump. We're going to roll those shoulders back and down, and then big in-breath. Exhaling, we'll do two more like that. Inhaling and exhaling. One more. And exhaling. Thank you so much for sharing this short yoga practice with me. I hope you enjoyed this opportunity to move and to flow, and hope you have an amazing day. Namaste.